What's up, Internet? Welcome back to the Roottrees Are Dead. In the last episode, we didn't make a hell of a lot of progress, but we found some evidence, which is great. Really, we're trying to mainly focus on this possible Infidelity 1 chart, which gets us to 1921. We know that Elias Roottree is involved in this, and we've just last confirmed that because of Gwyneth's lisp, of all things, that Bess Williams is the person that is involved in it. We don't know what happened after that, but we're going to certainly find out. So we know this is confirmed. I feel pretty good about all this. Now we just have to kind of continue this logic train. And the next thing I want to do is try to see if anything else on our reminders is relevant to us. So we're going to just go through this ruthlessly as best as we can. Oh, interesting. Hold on. There's a small section at the bottom that lists the present. Well, I should read the whole thing. Although during your last search, you only got a look at the history page, the design itself has clearly become much more sleek and very corporate. Gone is any history focused on Elias Roottree. Instead, the site seems to focus on the present status of their candy offerings with high-quality JPEGs of each of their products. There are also some small ads for Root, which is the clothing company owned by the Roottree Candy Company. And we did this one for sure. There's a small section on the bottom that lists the president as Clark. A short bio mentions that he was responsible for some of the marketing before taking the reins after the unfortunate plane crash. There's also a small memorial section for those that perished in the plane crash, including the Rootree sisters. Yep, did that one. Carl and Brenda. Kurt Johnson and Mark Sanchez were the pilot and co-pilot of the Rootree jet during its crash last December. Let's not do that one. Let's do research. I don't know if this is going to help us at all, but we certainly could try. Although the NTSB investigation has not been released, foul play has been ruled out. Trish King was on the cabin crew of the Rootree's private jet. Elizabeth Nicholson, who went by Eliza, lived in a house with her family about 200 yards from the section of the woods where the plane crashed. She reportedly had a heart attack during the commotion, and her family were unable to reach emergency services due to the overwhelmed phone lines and the ongoing storm. Her son-in-law managed to flag down an officer responding to the plane crash, but it was too late. What? Whoa, okay, hold on. Okay, so this keeps leading to the same thing, but if these people all lived in this area, then they probably are in Butler County times. Or not. How about news time? Okay. How about... I'm assuming it's going to be the same for everybody? Yeah. How about Rootree jet? And we looked up the Rootree curse already during this world, right? Yeah. Because this is how we found the Picoty stuff with the... Yeah. Okay. And then NTSB. NTSB is the National Transportation and Safety Board. In the United States, they're responsible for investigating plane crashes. Got it. Okay. So that's not going to be something we can use. All right, back to this. Much of the action took place in and around Butler County, Pennsylvania. Let's take a look. No. Elias, Carl, and Raina were on the cover of magazines. I don't know if that's super relevant, but let's look it up. Oh, interesting. Many websites and news articles eulogize Carl Roottree along with his daughters and wife, Brenda. As far as you can tell, Carl and Brenda Roottree never had any marital issues. You do come across an article about a Kristen Valdez, who claims to have been Carl's high school sweetheart before Brenda. She does not make any claim about having had a child with him. She just appeared to be paid to talk about his early life. Most of it is boring. She says they met when he was sent to a private school near her hometown and broke up when he graduated and moved back to Butler County. Okay, interesting. A lot of names just being thrown. But nothing like massive. Yeah, so like that to me isn't relevant. Jim Rootree. Let's see if Jim has anything else to give us. We looked him up already in the last episode, but let's see if there's any other... Modern music. Nope, that's an old one. Also old. Okay. So we looked up the diaries. We got that. 5 pieces. I mean, sure. Charles Lee. How about 3? Did he come out with the 3 in the time since? Nope. How about 1? Yep, that's old. Okay. There were 5 presidents of the Rootree Candy Company. Many were featured in periodicals. I mean... Zach Morden. Okay, but that's an old article. So how about anything else? Okay, we know what Guy Hudson leads to. How about Ernie Jr. Rootree? Well, actually, he's not a Rootree, right? I mean, it doesn't. It feels like it's not relevant. Stephanie Jones, we got them. Chris Rafferty. Yeah, we've done this. We've done this one. How about... Yeah. November Rootree was really hard to place. Yeah, she was one that we couldn't find at all, basically. There were no modern pictures of her. There's nothing. How I think she would ever be relevant, I don't know, but... Yeah, right. TMS has been in the news for his addiction both before and after the death of his wife, Raina. 2 months ago, he very publicly went into a rehab. Since then, however, he's been seen in public a few times and appears to be doing better. He hasn't appeared in any new movies in the last 8 months and has rarely appeared anywhere of note. Yeah, that doesn't work. How about Penelope? Oh, interesting. Comedian Penelope Tessa Green was a part of a recent fundraiser at the Reno Comedy Club, the Laugh Lounge, about a month ago. The fundraiser was called The Best Medicine and was to help find a cure for Huntington's disease. According to the website, she released a statement. Up until recently, I didn't know anything about Huntington's. In the last few months, I've gone from knowing nothing about it to learning more than any one person should ever have to. Until less than a decade ago, it was impossible to predict if someone susceptible to Huntington's had the disease, but due to advances in medicine, tests have been developed. Hopefully this increased awareness is the first step into finding a cure. Please join me for a night economy. What is Huntington's disease? Oh, wow, okay. Huntington's is a neurodegenerative disease that most recognizably causes memory issues and uncontrollable movements in the limbs. After symptom onset, somewhere between age 30 and 50, those affected by Huntington's typically live another 15 to 18 years as their symptoms worsen. There's no cure. Huntington is passed genetically from parent to child. The gene that causes Huntington's works in such a way that if a parent has the disease, there's a 50-50 chance that their child gets it. Huntington's cannot be passed on recessively, meaning it cannot skip a generation. In other words, if someone has a mother or father with Huntington's, but they themselves did not receive it from that parent, their children and their grandchildren and so on will never have it. Until the early 1990s, it was impossible to test for Huntington's. Instead, symptoms would usually appear later in life. It would often be after the person affected already had children. It would then be impossible to know if the children had it, as it was a 50-50 chance. In 1993, due to determining which gene causes Huntington's, it did become possible to test children for it and know if the disease was passed on or not. For a variety of complex reasons, however, children are considered unable to consent to such a test, and they are therefore very rarely tested unless they're showing early symptoms. So maybe Ron has it? That's sad. Business Watch. I think we've read that article. Yeah. Okay. Dead ends. Yep. Oh, shit. After the release of Six Pieces, Caroline Morden did a television interview. Someone had uploaded a partial transcript of that interview on the television section of the messaging community. That transcript is only her answers and is missing the questions. This creates somewhat a confusing reading experience, but does give you a bit more history about Caroline and some of her family members. Okay, that, and I wanted to look up Lauren's other books. No. Okay. That might be worth it. Let's see. 45 minutes. The Caroline Morden interview. Only Caroline's answers. Thanks for having me. I never really fit into the family, so it didn't surprise me. She could have put me in if she wanted to talk about the time during my activism days when I almost got arrested for stealing the spark plugs out of all her tractors, so Sam, but I don't really think it fit her narrative. So they're saying, the question is probably, did she want to be mentioned in the book or something like that? Yes and no. They never tried to kick me out or send me to live on a farm, if that's what you mean. But I was already pretty unpopular, and once everybody learned why I divorced my husband, few people paid me any attention. Oh, because her book probably talked about Caroline being with a woman. Right. She's my wife, not legally, but we've been together for half our lives. Call it what it is. I was 20 and had just had my daughter. I had to look back on that time because I was a terrible mother the first few years. I left my daughter with my ex-husband and followed Guy on a private jet to Europe. He lost a tooth and a client. I found love and a better understanding of who I was. Still, in our family's eyes, his trip was somehow more acceptable. Explain that. Oh, that's interesting. No, I couldn't stand him. Our family wrote off his behavior like he was some huge fan of romance or women, but he didn't like the entire woman. It was doubly awkward for me because he was more supportive than most. I slowly figured out it was because he assumed I would be as shallow as he was. He was a workaholic. He seemed nice enough and did a good job. I didn't know him well. That was one of Sam's problems with our family. None of us did except Carl. Honestly, I get why she's pissed. I'd rather not speak ill of the dead, not unless you want more stories about Guy. With Carl, though, all I could say is we used to be friends before they sent him to private school. He came back a lot judgier. It made sense when they made him president. He was a lot like my father after they disciplined the fun out of him. I started protesting the farms. He stopped returning my calls. Oh, well, he's harder to label. When I was a teenager, he was basically drunk or high or both all the time. He actually used to sell me pot. His problem with women were different than Guy's, but he never really judged me. I guess he knew it would be pretty hypocritical to judge anyone for anything. Back then, he was destructively unreliable in every way, but nowadays he's just kind of boring and old. I prefer that to how he used to be, and to Guy and Carl, but it's still a cautionary tale. I hope I'm never that boring and old. This is probably about Clark. So this is cool, but not necessarily helpful. I feel like I didn't get a lot from that. But the reminders went down, so clearly there's stuff to pull from the evidence. There's one more thing I could still pull. Let's look at Brian Jones again. Okay, right. This is how we got our... So that's that. Sam and her father were cryptically mentioned in a book about historical letters. Oh, right. That was the one we didn't actually even get. Because that was through Patricia Jones. What was the... Christensen. Right, steamy correspondence. How about Tina Angelina? Yeah, no, that's old. They count that as old. But why is that here? Does that matter? Wonder, can we look up John Miller? No. No, man, I don't know. Okay, well, we are/were doing decently well, with just pulling stuff out. So I guess we have to keep going. Cruelty. This is about Bess, not Beth. It seems crazy that I just don't know what, see, what's the Chinese word for watermelon? I just don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. I would love more of anything. I think I'm missing like a periodical, right? Like that must be where it is. Like some of the stuff that I need to throw into a periodical I just don't have. 6 pieces. I think it's the same thing. Those 2 pieces of information, the 6 pieces in the diary, both combine to be Bess Williams. That's Elias's person. John Doe. I just don't know what else to do. Miami Williams. Is there anything else I can pull from Bess Williams just to get further and a little bit further? How about Elias back in Business Watch? Does that give me anything else? No, because it's not going to give me that article again. It's not going to give me the same evidence. Although I guess the book did. Right? A Lawrence book was possible. This is Lisa. What is my top piece of my top piece of evidence right now is the company records, which I don't know exactly how this page helps me. Susan Ford no longer works in this department. So if Susan Ford was... Yeah, I mean, if Susan Ford was with Guy in like 1980 and she had at least a singular child with him, that means that child is at most 20. Actually, they are going to be about 18 to 20. Right? Because... they'd be 18 to 20. Is there anything that I can think about? How about if... This is a long shot, but if... What is the school now called? Miss Ford is fluent in 5 languages, including ASL. How about if... Oh, there we go. Grandeur School for the Deaf has made a few odd appearances here and there in Butler County since 1990. It's not too many that you can't look at all of them, so after scrolling through a few pages, you manage to find something incredibly useful in an article that isn't even focused on the school itself. Local students provide key evidence in scientific study. The article from March of this year, March 1999, mentions that the Ford sisters, who attend public school in Butler County, are one of only a handful of identical twins in the world who suffer from 2 different genetic issues. One of them has asthma, and the other has a deadly allergy to peanuts. Their mother, a Miss Susie Ford, who is principal at the nearby Grandorf School for the Deaf, was originally contacted by researchers looking to identify if there were any sets of twins where one was born deaf and the other was not. While she didn't have any twins attending her school, she asked if her daughters Melissa and Heather could be useful, and it turns out they were. She says they couldn't be more different. My youngest, we all call her that even though it's only by about 15 minutes, is shy, but essentially hasn't stopped running from the moment she learned to scamper. Asthma has kept her sister off the soccer field, but she's the definition of extrovert and is even performing in a local production of Is There a Life After High School later this year. Is There a Life After High School is a musical. It's quite obscure, only appearing on Broadway for 17 performances after a preview period. Nowadays, it's mostly performed by smaller theater troupes, including high school drama clubs. If you couldn't tell by now, a game designer by the name of Jeremy Johnson was in musical and theater all 4 years of high school. There's one song that has somewhat surpassed the popularity of the rest of the musical called The Kid Inside. If you'd like to listen to it, I recommend Barry Manilow's version. If you've heard the song before, it's likely that cover. The entire musical entirely deals with the traumas and nostalgia that society collectively shares about their formative years, which feels appropriately thematic for this game. I've always thought of it as somewhat ironic that they have high school theater clubs perform it, though. Anyways, the key word in that Butler County Times article is local. Great. The article includes pictures of the girls added to your evidence. So, cool. So she's the one with asthma. She's the one with peanuts. An EpiPen. Great. I don't know why it's a black and white photo, but maybe just because it's a newspaper, right? So let's go back to that article. So Melissa and Heather, my youngest, is shy because she essentially hasn't stopped running. So the youngest hasn't stopped running. And so the asthmatic is the performer. The youngest is running. How about... seems like a high school in Butler County performed Is There Life After High School. The cast list mentions the name, so Heatherford. So the one who runs is not the asthmatic. You're the one with the EpiPen. You are here. Your name is... The asthmatic is the one that... I hate that I call them that, but that's okay. They are students. And you are Melissa Ford. And you are also a student. Now, are they student? Yeah, at high school. Heather Ford is the... Right. So this should be correct. So now, if I have everything correct here, I have 4 correct right now, which means I have only one more person I have to get before I can start breaking into this, or before I can lock them in. But that means I have to break into this tree. I have to get something correct, which is really hard. I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I found the right information there. What can I do about Bess Williams? I need something in Miami. I need something in Florida, because theoretically the child was born in Florida somewhere. Unless I have something completely off base. So what year would that have been? That would have been 1920 something? Oh, that's interesting. Look, John Doe. So that means if that's a John Doe, that means that this is a woman. Not that that super matters, but it is good to know. So if that's a woman... I mean, yeah, it doesn't really affect anything. It doesn't matter what gender or what, who these people are. I just need to know their identities. What else can I put Bess Williams in? I'm just going to do this one more time. No. Okay. So what allows me to crack this open? I feel good that I got this. This is awesome. And I think every other picture is satisfied. I think it's literally just this now, right? There's not even any other pictures up here, right? It must be, it's got to be something about... Yeah, we did all this. We've taken a look at it. It's tough because I've now been playing this over the course of a month. This piece of the game, but the game at large, like almost 2-3 months, and so I'm just like forgetting what we haven't seen, what we haven't looked up. There's also a lot to look up, right? Linda Lewis and Lisa Lewis. They were sisters? Interesting. Okay. I would love to get a hit somewhere. There's two things here that apparently matter. And I'm assuming that it has something to do with a local... No. We did Susan Ford. We looked that all up. Gwyneth Madsen, Gwyneth Cattrall. I wonder if Gwyneth has anything to say. Hold on. No. I think... I don't know what to do here. I'm very stuck. Gwyneth was always much kinder to Sam than Elias was. Sam always got the impression that Gwyneth was able to coerce Elias by using Sam back in some kind of leverage. Sam also says that her son, Ernie, once asked her, "Who's Beth?" Elias once heard that a secretary named Elizabeth. Yeah, but that's a red herring. Because we now know it's Bess. Ernie. He's technically Ernie Jr. Ernie Jr. is one of the few people we haven't really done a lot with. But nothing he says or does or did should really matter. Yeah. Yeah, it almost doesn't matter. I've never read this one. The Roottrees Are Dead, not to be confused with a similar game called The Roottrees Are Bred, is a video game about a fictional family called the Roottrees, about discovering their lineage after the Roottrees' sisters are killed in a plane crash. The game takes place in Butler County, which is a real county in Pennsylvania, but uses fictional elements such as a fake newspaper called the Butler County Times. The creator of the game does not know anyone who lives in Butler County and has never ever been there. Instead, he just randomly picked somewhere on the map near a metropolitan area that sounded reasonable and hoped to not somehow accidentally offend the people that actually live there. No, it's fully reasonable. Bro, what am I supposed to do? I don't get it. This is satisfied. This reminders must be it, right? It's got to be something. And it's not something stupid like looking up Rootree Mania, right? Sorry, VHS releases of Gwen's old movies, other countless blah blah blah. This is the hardest one because there's not as much physical evidence, right? So we're trying to find accounts of people that might not have had a physical account. It can't be with Miracle, is it? know, we knew that one. How about Miracle Jr. back on here? No. How about the Miracle Network? Same thing. Okay. And then 5 pieces is just the candy. Somehow I feel like this is somewhat relevant, but I don't think so. Elizabeth Nicholson. Let's just look them all through. What's happening? Why didn't that work? Kurt Johnson. Nope. I don't know. How long have we been going here? Oh, we've been going for certainly long enough. Wow, okay. Yeah, I think I might have to sit and think about this one. I truly don't know what else I can investigate. I feel like I've looked through everything at this point. All of it is leading to the same spot, which is great, except the spot is not breaking. Like I get it, it's best, but then best doesn't give me more. So I don't really know how to proceed, but I guess we'll have to figure that out in the next episode. Guys, give me a like, subscribe if you want to see how I eventually unravel this, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks so much.